I just wanted to take a moment here. Tim, I think the level you're working at, what I'm going to talk about applies. Uh, Habits. And I'm trying to make you the coach, Tim. And I've done this with minor hockey coaches. And I'm worried more about the coach getting it so they can teach it and coach it. So the habits are keeping the stick on the ice and providing a target. That's a habit. And cross ice scrimmage, 3-on-3. The rule is, and you tell the coach, if the stick's off the ice, all players, with or without the puck, the coach will blow the whistle. And everybody has to do a push-up. The people watching and the players on both teams on the ice. And the next phase is making sure the players that are watching are calling push-ups. You do it once, the rest of that game, sticks are on the ice. Targets are being presented. Now, I did the next one was turning your back on the puck. So I told the coach, if they turn their back on the puck, you blow the whistle. But you tell them the drill is to always face the puck. But the coach doesn't tell them, well, you got to always face the puck. You've got to always correct them. Your teaching point in the drill is always face the puck. And make sure they know why they're doing it when it happens. And I found some coaches, they really didn't get the point and weren't able to make the point. It seems strange because it's so simple to us, but something simple like that, I had trouble getting across to a coach of a fairly high-level Pee-wee team. He was a teller, a habitual teller. The whistle is the habit. And instead of interrupting and yelling and telling him to do push-ups, reminding him to do push-ups, you have to wait and let them figure it out. And the kids watching and the kids on the ice is, why did I blow the whistle? What's the purpose of the drill? So making the kids aware versus blowing the whistle and telling them, and nobody really watched the play. They're going to do push-ups on the whistle. So the awareness piece is so critical to get across. Tom, we talk about constraints. And I think I've talked about this before, but because we're on this roll, 3-versus-3 cross-ice scrimmage, I think I got it from a Finnish coach. The constraints are, before you can make a pass, you've got to execute a tight turn. Now, why? It's to gain space and time. And you might have to ask the players, why are we doing this? What's the advantage of it? The second rule is you have to skate backwards with the puck, and before you pass. Now, what happens when you do that? Ask the question. Don't just give them the rule. Why are we doing it? Well, it certainly opens up the space and the lanes for passing it. Another one was backhand pass only. So people had to support behind the puck. Force those players to know that I've got to get to this area because that's the constraint. The best one of all is you got to pass to the third player only. So when you get the puck, you're not going to pass back to the other player. The third player, to the player who gave it to you, not a given goal constraint, but you got to pass to the third player restraint. So the purpose of the individual's tactical skill related to time and space and support, and then the thinking process, it's all tied in. So you're coaching habits, you're coaching awareness. To me, that's coaching, and that's what, those are the kind of things that with the coaches we work with, Rick, in communities, we're trying to get them to grab onto, make them work, take the game to another level. So, Craig, I'm sure you could add some value to what we've been talking about. Go ahead.
No, I love where our conversation went to today. I think it's super important that we're finding ways for players to collect information, take responsibility, work off each other. I'm not sure I have much more to add. I think Tom, Tim, Rick, Wally, all of you guys, even Sammy and others, done an excellent job of exploring this topic. I think it's where we need to go and see more coaches go. The next step would be just how can we push this out to our community further than it currently proliferates. So that would be my next place to take this. But no, this is awesome. Thanks, Wally, for stimulating the conversation, and everyone else for being involved. So I'll go to Rick on the next one. I know he's got his hand raised.
Yeah, and I just see that, sorry to interrupt, that Tim just dropped into the chat box that Tarasov quote for anybody that's interested. Thanks, Tim. Go ahead, Rick. Oh, you're muted, Rick.
Thanks, Tim. Just hitchhiking on Wally's comments about habits. A couple of things, and I've mentioned it before, that I've instilled in practices that I'm running, is that the importance of the puck, that there's only one in a game. So in a practice, exercise, drill, whatever you want to call it, you start your exercise with one puck, and that's the only one you can complete with. If you're not able to control it individually or collectively, your session is over. You move on, let the next group through. So you don't get the reward of the shot on goal, which is usually what the end result would be. It's surprising how quickly that makes the puck more important. Stressing the sticks on the ice, anytime there's free skating going on, or anytime I catch a player, I'm hollering at it, stick down, get it on the ice. And again, over time, that starts to stick. It's just reinforcing that habit from the coaching side of things. And again, with the passing, as Wally's referenced it, that it's our worst exercise or executed skill. I fully subscribe to that. But again, when you stress it at every drill, before you start, what's important here, guys? What's important, girls? What's important, fellas? The passing. Stick's got to be down, target's got to be presented at good angle, pucks have to be moved with a purpose of being received. Make sure that you're not the guy that breaks this cycle here. And it's surprising that habit starts to take hold fairly quickly, at least in any environments I've been in.
Rick, on the passing issue, I think people, coaches, parents, they generally, their level of thinking is the passer. And the most important person is the receiver.
I agree.
And we know that. So the concept of teaching support and timing, there are some simple little drills to teach that. The game will teach it with these constraints. And that's my point. The ability to teach as a coach, using constraints and knowing the purpose of what you're doing to be reflected in the game. That's what we want coaches to try to get to. And the games will teach at practice. The small area games with constraints will teach those habits. So I think it's huge. The stick on the ice, and the point I wanted to make, Rick. I don't know how many coaches that all of you have worked with that have demanded two hands on the stick always. And maybe you're one of those people, but I'm not.
I'm not either.
Yeah. So I think for this segment, for the people listening and those coaches who are two hands on the stick only, you can present a really good target with one hand. Make it more obvious. You can angle the blade to be square to the puck coming to you. And I think that's a key rule to getting open with the stick well ahead of the body, softening the reception when it hits the stick with one and catching with two. That's a teaching element, and targeting with one. And I find breakaway skating, that's the first thing that, Tom, I want to work on with the coaches on the weekend of the 16th. It's sort of a development camp, not an evaluation camp. One hand on the stick, push the puck ahead of you, and all the players will go down the ice handling it. They don't know how important that is, because breakaway skating is going to have a payoff. When they go to whole ice hockey and all that much more ice, they've got to be able to do it. So the best players are faster with a puck than without it. So I just wanted to share that on the habits.
But again, back to your one hand, two hand on the stick. One revelation when I'm working with players on that is that you have so much more range with one hand, both on the offensive and on the defensive side. Two hands on your stick restricts the arc that you can cover with the stick. It's a simple law of physics, but hardly understood.
Yeah.
I've told you all the story before about Rich Preston, and he played for Houston when he first turned pro, instead of going to the NHL, because he got to play in a line with Gordy and Mark Howe. And Rico, he takes passes with one hand all the time. I've never seen a guy do this. And he builds kind of a wall around him. And I said, Rico, why do you do that? Why do you take passes with one hand more than anybody I've ever seen? He says, well, Gordy told me to. So I wasn't going to argue with him. But, then he can reach. But he kind of puts his arm out. He builds a wall so you can't get to the puck. So he's doing kind of both things at once. And